On today's podcast, I'm talking with college and NBA star and now CBS analyst Clark Kellogg. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about culture. We're talking about teams in the world today, on and off the court. We're talking about what does it mean for transformational recruiting in the midst of a very transactional world. Stay tuned to learn more. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We are in season 9 of the podcast, believe it or not, over 300 episodes, which is hard to believe by now. And it's been awesome to watch the way that this continues to grow and spread, connect with people. My commitment to you every time I sit down to record one of these is I want this to be a place for you to step back, to take a deep breath in your own life and to think about the temperature that you're setting in your life, in your work. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new to the podcast, welcome in. So glad you found this. All you got to do is there's 300 episodes. So all kinds of different great conversations like you're going to hear today with thought leaders and folks from around the world. All you got to do is Google my name, Jason Barger, and whatever topic around leadership, culture, mindset, teamwork, accountability, trust, all of that, you'll find episodes in there that hopefully resonate with you. And if you're somebody that's been with us from the very beginning, so glad this continues to add value to your life and your work. I keep being reminded by everyone that I got to keep reminding you to subscribe, rate the podcast 5 stars, of course, on whatever platform you're on. You know, leave an authentic review in your own words. And every time you share the podcast, if there's episodes that resonate with you, share it with your teammates, your colleagues, friends. Say, hey, let's give this a listen and let's talk about it. That's how the message is amplified throughout the world and these things spread. So thanks for everybody that does that. I am super excited to invite my guest here in just a minute into the pod. Clark Kellogg is best known for his illustrious basketball career as a 3-year starter for the Ohio State Buckeyes, a captain, a Big Ten MVP honoree. He was the number 8th overall pick in the 1982 NBA draft of the Indiana Pacers, and then was a unanimous first-team all-rookie selection in 1983. And most recently, he's seen all over CBS Sports as one of the main and most trusted voices of college basketball and beyond. Even more importantly than all that, by the way, he's been married to Rosie since 1983, and they have 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. Philanthropy and service to others are priorities for Clark. He uses his time, talent, and treasure and a platform to support various institutions and organizations. And the list of those is more than we could even list right now. So many great things that he's been involved with. I've had the pleasure of crossing paths with Clark now a few different times in different settings. And besides our mutual love for basketball and deep appreciation and obsession with college basketball in particular, I have always been drawn to his spirit and heart of service. We were recently reconnected again by one of my professional mentors, Doug Kreidler. Shout out to Doug out there, as Clark now serves as the Columbus Foundation Governing Committee. I've loved each chat that we've had to this point and look forward to this one as well. So welcome to the podcast, Clark Kellogg.
Jason, great to be with you, man, and good to reconnect. And love some of those buzzwords you threw around trust and culture and accountability and leadership. I think we all, no matter what line of work we're in, where we happen to be in our respective journeys, those concepts and words and principles resonate, I think, in some way for all of us. So great to be here. And at the start of college basketball season, even better since you're pretty much a rabid fan and I'm a hoops junkie as well, man. So great to be able to connect during this time.
Yeah, this is just two hoops junkies talking right now, so it's awesome. This time of year gets me fired up. So glad that you're taking time to be with me and Chad. We'll talk a little, hoops. We'll sprinkle some hoops in here too.
Yeah.
But also just want to connect with you. Most people know you as the great bio that I just shared about you. And about your athletic career, and certainly now see you as an analyst across CBS and all over the place. What's something that I or the audience wouldn't know about Clark Kellogg? What's something that most people might not know?
I have this persona of being fairly serious on the air, and I am a fairly serious person, but I'm also extremely silly. And a lot of times folks don't get to see that side of me. Occasionally it bubbles up when I'm in the seat at the studio desk for CBS. It jumps out on occasion, but I love surprises and good humor and good hard belly aching laughs. And so I can create those with my own silliness. And then I'm a bit of a neat freak. I don't like disorder. I like things put back where they belong. I like it done right after you finish using them. I don't like a full hamper, so my laundry is done pretty much twice a week. There's a certain point where if there are too many pieces in my hamper, then it's time to get them out and get them cleaned up, folded, and put away. So those are a couple of things that I don't know would resonate with folks just by watching me or interacting with me from a distance through either playing way back in the day or commentating now.
Well, that's the attention to detail that people that watch you know that you've got that attention to detail. And by the way, watching you then with Charles Barkley or Kenny Smith or some of those guys, I could see that the humor coming out, and I love to laugh and very similarly have that side of me as well. You do seem to be a very intentional person though, and part of the themes on this podcast, this being about thermostat cultures. One of the books I wrote is called Thermostat Cultures, and it's about that proactive switch from just being reactionary. And, when we talk about emotional intelligence, we've got to be able to take the temperature, right? And so we've got to know, be able to take the temperature, our own temperature, how we're feeling, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing in the moment. But also we got to be able to read the temperature of the people around us. But then the shift of that kind of taking of the temperature to setting the temperature is then having clarity around, well, what is that temperature that I aim to set?
Yeah.
What is that temperature so I'm wondering, I often ask guests, how would you articulate kind of the temperature that you try to set in your life and in your work? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, a couple of things. Stewardship, because life is a gift from God, from my particular worldview, and everything that I have and am is because of God giving me life and breath and what I have, and stewarding that well is important. But recently I've been really taken by this concept of being a faithful presence of who God is in me. And to me, that resonates with something Paul talks about in the Bible, the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And my desire in being a thermostat, which I love that phrasing, I really do, because it's about who are we in the places and spaces that God allows us to go to. And being consistently that everywhere you are. So I desire and aspire to intentionally be a faithful presence of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's my aspiration, to represent that on the golf course, in my home, in the studio, when I'm traveling in the airport, when I'm seated on a flight. Every place that I occupy, I intentionally desire and think about being a faithful presence of those attributes. And like all of us, I'm a work in progress. But I do have a desire and an intentionality around working at and doing the things that would allow me, and being the faithful presence that God has, I think, called me to be.
I love it. I love it. I love that. The fruit of the spirit, of course. I love that. The very first book I wrote, you mentioned airports, but was called Step Back from the Baggage Claim, is called Step Back from the Baggage Claim. And I spent 7 days living in airports. And really the book is about that, is in the spaces, like literally in our lives where there are delays, cancellations,
frustrations, chaos, uncertainty. I mean, that's life, right?
That's right. And how do we show up in those moments, and that our lives are lived between those moments? And so that, really that was a precursor for even getting to the point where I was able to write this book around thermostat cultures. But this idea that, do we have clarity on that temperature that we try to set? And he or she who aims at nothing hits it every time. So what is it that we're aiming for? We're all works in progress.
Yeah,
but to be able to, and similarly, my words kind of coming into this year that I think about daily are, I keep thinking about that I want to be seeking and finding joy in each moment, each day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to create connection wherever I go. And I want to make sure that the efforts are having a positive impact on the people around me.
Yeah.
And if I can do those things, then maybe that fruit of the spirit grows.
It's guaranteed. I mean, we do reap what we sow. And when we sow thoughts of uplifting others, thoughts of being involved in moving people forward, up and forward is one of the ways I like to look at. Am I engaged in activities? Am I using what God's given me to help move people forward in their journeys and move them up? Perhaps point them towards Him, but also horizontally, are we trying to make other people better, trying to make our communities better? And how do we align with folks that are doing that? We can't do everything, but we all have a mandate and responsibility to do what we can, where we are with what we have.
No doubt. So, when I'm in and out of teams and organizations all the time and helping to support around leadership development and how do we proactively shape the culture that they want, and clarity around mission, vision, and values. And one of the things I always talk about is how we think about leadership matters. What we think about what it means to lead impacts every room we walk into, every meeting we're in, how we approach the people around us. You're somebody that has been fortunate to be around in and out. And now as an analyst, you're watching coaches and different groups of people that are trying to lead. I'm wondering, in the world that we live in right now, are there coaches, are there leaders, are there players that come to your mind of the way the world is now, like of the kind of compelling styles of leadership that seem to be resonating with people? Or anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, the world as it is now is not a lot different than the world that has been. There's some amplification of things, but the Bible speaks clearly that what has will be again, and what is has been before. So there's some amplification. We've had advances in technology, but I think at the core, there's chaos, there's uncertainty, there's goodness, there's evil, there's disruption, there's innovation. All of those things are part of what we've looked at from the beginning of humanity in some form or fashion. When you talk about leadership and some of the things that I've actually experienced and seen, there's really a desire, I think, for more leaders to be servant leaders. And that would be, if you wanted to have a phrase to capture what I think has kind of risen to what is authentic, impactful, transforming kind of leadership, I think it's that. It's not necessarily being enamored with the title, but being committed to the responsibility you have because of a title or influence or position to elevate and serve those that have been entrusted to your care, whether you're a coach, whether you're a CEO or a CIO, Chief Information Officer, whether you're a sales manager of whatever role you have, whether you're a husband, wife, older sibling. I think that servant, being able to look at what you can be doing to help others be their best in the opportunities that you have. And so I think leadership really is influence. What kind of influence are you having?
Let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
In the places where you have that opportunity and privilege to lead. And so, to me, I think foundational to the whole leadership component, Jason, for me is caring. It's humility, It's influence, it's, I think, learning, teaching, and stewarding. I mean, when you look at those and start to peel back layers of what those particular words mean and look like, that to me is what leadership is.
Yeah,
and serving others, I think, should be at the core of being an effective leader. Is the way I kind of look at it.
No, we're so aligned in this. When I talk about that concept, that how we think about leadership matters, and so, especially in sports, but I think this plays out obviously everywhere. Is at different times we've honored this kind of top of the pyramid leader, this person that is enamored by the title, this person that walks into the room and sometimes people could get confused that leadership is about the top of the pyramid and it's about power and control and coercion and barking out orders and getting people what to do. And yet, I mean, I've asked the question to literally groups and audiences all around the world. I estimated, tens and thousands of people I've asked this same question. Tell me the characteristics of the most compelling leader you've ever experienced in your life. And none of them ever describe that type of leader, right?
Yeah, right.
And what they do describe is that kind of flipping of the pyramid upside down. And that what you and I would refer to as servant leadership, and that it's believing and serving a mission greater than self. And that it's not about power and control, but it's about putting people in positions and coaching and developing and caring about people so that they can bring their gifts to serve.
Yes, exactly.
And what's so interesting is you watch this across sports even right now, and you see, and from my vantage point, the coaches that the players seem to be more compelled by and resonating with in the world today are those types of leaders. Do you agree?
No, agree, 100%, 100%. And that's a powerful amplification of what authentic, impactful leadership, in my mind, should look like and should be. You think of guys like in the coaching profession, and I've had a chance to brush up against primarily basketball coaches because that's been my world since I was really 10 years old, and I'm 64 now. So for over, 50 years, half a century, I've been engaged and involved in the game with various coaches at every level. As a broadcaster, obviously, I've had the privilege of being at countless games and practices, watching coaches work and do what they do. I think of Ryan Day, even though I've not been in the football space, I have been in that building a number of times. The Woody Hayes athletic facility, where the culture is palpable in who they are and how they go about their work and Ryan's leadership, which is quite selfless. It's never, ever about him. It's always about the people that he's been entrusted to work with and work for. And that resonates when it's consistent and real. I think about Kelvin Sampson in the basketball world. I've been around him and his program enough to feel it and to see it. And it's so good and it's so inspiring. And it's pretty much a family operation there. Him, his son,
his wife,
his daughter, his wife, former players, how they all are committed to doing it a certain way for the benefit of those who get touched by their influence so that they can go on and be the best versions of themselves. And it just so happens that the canvas of a basketball court is where that work takes place. So Tom Izzo is the same way. When I think Shaka Smart, a younger coach who embraces some of that same great relationship builder, I've had a chance to spend time visiting with him and watching how he works and how he invests in bringing forth assistant coaches so that they can become him somewhere else, and players that can navigate the basketball world to the pro level or to some other area of it. I mean, all of it to me is about trying to move other people forward and help them realize their dreams by things that you might be able to do with and for them in their journey.
I love it. I'll tell you, I'll give you something you don't know about me. You just mentioned Shaka Smart, but Clark, you're talking about a guy that I guarded, and Shaka guarded me for a number of years in college. He played at Kenyon College. I played at Denison.
Wow.
I'll let Shaka. I'm undefeated against Shaka. I'll just tell you that, Clark. But amazing person and somebody that all of those people you just named. We could go. I love hearing people see what do you see in people. And I had Andrew Whitworth on the pod recently, and he was talking about across football and the coaches that he sees in the same kind of way. Yeah. What you mentioned about Ryan Day or any of these examples you just named, what I remind people of all the time and in and out of organizations is it doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
That these cultures, what you're talking about that's happening at Houston, you talk about it being palpable, walking into the Woody Hayes, because culture doesn't happen by accident. It is led and co-created by all, and that temperature is a part of everything we do. I was, I think, emailing or texting with you about this kind of leading up to the pod that I wanted to get your take on this because Seth Greenberg, who I really appreciate and love watching, and I digest all kinds of content related to college basketball, but he said something recently that I just thought was really interesting, and I've got my own take on it. Yeah. But here was his quote. He said, "Transformational recruiting is over. It's now all transactional due to the transfer portal." Yeah. Now, I have a different view on this, but I understood what he was. Yeah.
But I would push back.
The challenges.
I would push back on it too. I would push back on that.
Push back.
It's a strong catchphrase, and there's some components of truth to it and reality to it because of the NIL landscape. But I've always felt, even before we got to this space over the last 5 years with the unlimited transfers and NIL, two seismic shifts that have created a landscape that will never be the same going forward. That's just the reality. But even before that, I always felt that you as a coach and as an institution, when we're talking about scholarship athletes, have a responsibility to serve and develop those student athletes for however long you have them. That doesn't change. Now that this may be just 1 year, that doesn't change the foundational premise that part of your role is to provide an opportunity for transformation. Now, you might not have the same runway, and therefore you might not see the same fruit, but you do have the same responsibility to till and develop that soil while they're there. And so that, to me, there's a transactional component because kids are bouncing around, but I don't think it changes, in my mind, how you attempt to lead and impact those young people. Now, they
No
might
doubt.
not receive what you're offering because they may be more interested in the transaction, but that's not new. I mean,
No.
that's going on forever. That's the same. It's just amplified and it's just accelerated. So that's where I would push back, in that's kind of looking at, to me, that's looking at the wrong component. And I've never coached, so the reality of that world I only get from the external and from having a perspective of being a player and being around. But I've never lived the life of this hamster wheel that is part of what coaching is. But I still hold firm to the conviction that there's a transformational element that a coach has a responsibility to embrace.
Yeah, I would love to have that conversation with Seth and to hear. And my guess is what he was saying in the moment was some frustrations around transactional.
And I appreciate and feel that. Yeah.
Totally. But my pushback immediately when I heard him say it, and I started to text, you and other people that I know, to say, hey, give me your take, because here's what I experience and here's what I believe and here's what I'm experiencing across the world of organizations. And what I would say is culture is your greatest competitive advantage. And if somebody is going to leave an organization, which, by the way, has been happening since the beginning of time, if they're going to leave just for transactional purposes, then they're going to do that. But there's a reason why people aren't leaving the Ohio State program right now, the way you described Ryan Day, and there are schools that will pay more money for players. There's a reason why. And so this I understand that across organizations right now, there are people and players that will jump for money purposes only. Yeah. And yet what we also know from research is if things are about equal or in a level playing field where they are, that it's fair market, they are being compensated, people will pick culture every day of the week over that. Yeah. And if they don't want that, then they want something else. And and you don't want them anyway, because they're chasing that. And this happens across organizations all the time, but it's about that relationship. It's about that development. It's about being a part of something greater than yourself. And those teams, those coaches, those organizations are the ones that end up retaining their best people and then attracting those transfers that fit culturally, want to help the culture get even better. And so transformation is actually even more important today than it ever has been, I would say.
That's a great explanation and perspective, and it resonates strongly with me too. That's well said.
You mentioned Houston, which they're on my list of those that I think are what they've been doing lately is exceptional. Are other programs or cultures that you see that you admire because you see that palpable nature, that it's not happening by accident?
To pick up on what you said about culture being such a competitive advantage, I think I would just look at teams where you retain players in this environment, and receiving transfers is more about fit and culture than it is volume and transaction. So Matt Painter would come to mind at Purdue.
Yep.
When you think about it, Jay Wright when he was at Villanova.
Yep.
Another one where you knew there was now, I'm not saying all cultures are the same or easy, but the reality is there's some common ground, and you just laid it out quite beautifully the way you said it and framed it as a competitive advantage, as something that can actually tip the scales in your favor when the market is fairly close and there's not a significant gap. Then ideally people want to be where they're going to be developed, where they're going to grow, where they're going to get better, and they're going to have opportunities to flourish. And so he certainly comes to mind. I think, and I've not had the opportunity to be around her, but I've watched Dawn Staley is another one who comes to mind when you think. And the other thing too, for me in the basketball and the athletic space, is when you hear players and assistant coaches talk about the one that is at the head of the group, the head coach, in endearing, respectful, admirable ways. That is an indicator to me as well of what's taking place under the hood or under the roof, if you will. So those are a few. Tony Dungy would be another one.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to be around Tony in some different settings, not on the field with him when he was coaching, but always I've read just about all of his books and have spent time with him personally and just watching how he handled his role as a coach and the impact he had on other coaches and players. I mean, you think about that kind of influence that goes beyond just what takes place on the field is pretty powerful stuff.
I'll throw another one out there for you. I actually write about him in my book, Breathing Oxygen, but I think the Gonzaga story is one of the greatest stories we've ever seen in sports.
That's really good.
Over a 20 years when it kind of began, but now a 25-year period, they go from an athletic department that was hemorrhaging money, and they're barely going to exist, to making an actual decision strategically that we're going to go further into and invest in the basketball program. Yeah. They have that first magical run in 1999. Right? And then over the next 25 years, what they accomplish on the basketball court was incredible. You know, where they just 9 straight Sweet 16s that just ended last year. Yeah, they've played for 2 national championships from a school that in Spokane, Washington. And now to also watch what that has done for their university. Great example. Their enrollment has doubled since in that 20-year period. Their applications have tripled, and their school budget is 4x what it was.
Wow!
Because of that rise. It's one of the most incredible culture-shaping things I've seen.
Yeah, no, it's a good, and the numbers you use, I didn't know the numbers, but I knew it was pretty impactful and significant. But yeah, it is remarkable.
I think what the Zags have done is one of those stories that's is just remarkable. Well, every year at March Madness, you know, there are examples like the Zags. You know, they became that first Cinderella, and now they're, you know, been the premier program on the West Coast really for the last decade at least. You know? Mm-hmm. But they're those teams that always surprise us. What are, when you think about March Madness and what it requires to advance? What are the characteristics that come to you when you say these teams? I mean, obviously they got to be talented, but we also know the most talented teams don't always win, and typically don't. It's you know. So what are those characteristics that you see?
You know, it's a combination of things. I think obviously the basic stuff that you need to compete at that level is important. Right. I think you've got to be playing well. You know, you've got to be on a trajectory, but you also have to play well in the moment. Because we've seen it, Jason, where teams that stumble into the tournament find momentum in the tournament. Yep. Other teams look unbeatable going into the tournament and don't advance. So we know there's an element of that uncertainty that we really can't capture, because that's part of what makes sports so compelling, is because you can't predict. So often when you think you've got it figured out, something jumps up and says a 16 is going to beat a 1. I never thought I would see it in my broadcasting days. Seth Davis and I would go back and forth, and he was saying, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. The numbers say, and I just couldn't see it until I saw it. You know, when Virginia went down in 2018 to UMBC, and then we had Purdue suffer the same fate a few years later. So
that's right.
So again, I think it's obviously playing well, but then there's that component of being able to seize the moment, because that often is the difference. And you go back, and every year I go back and look at games. A team that made it to the Final Four was 1 bucket away at some point in their journey from being out of the tournament.
Oh, no doubt.
Florida Atlantic, the year they went, had to get a buzzer beater in the first round game against Memphis. And you can almost chronicle this with pretty good regularity, that teams that make a expected run or even a surprising run have had something that falls in the category.
Virginia, the year that they came back and won it. The buzzer beater
the game against Purdue.
Purdue. No doubt.
So there's the element of that which you can't really define, that is part of succeeding in that 3-week run to a championship. So luck, good fortune, usually the teams that get to make a run or win the championship, they have something of that in one or two circumstances on the journey.
Yeah, that I watch it each year, and the magic of the tournament. I get giddy like a kid every time it comes on again. But it plays out right in front of us, and that reminder that this belief. You see these teams that have a belief.
That's the other component I would add to real confidence.
Bigger.
Yeah.
There's like this belief that's bigger than anything, and you can just see it, and you can see the connection. You can see that adversity is going to hit for everybody. Yeah. And so how we respond and how is our team connected in that way is just fascinating every time.
No doubt. Yeah, it always delivers, no matter where you fall on what you like to see, whether it's 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four like we had last year or what we had a couple of years ago when the total number next to the seed names of the teams was somewhere 25 or 26. I mean, with Florida Atlantic, and I'm trying to think that Connecticut was there, obviously, but there was another high seed or two, and it was just a big number. Miami, I think, was one team there. And it was, I think you had like an 11 seed, maybe a 10, then a single digit. I think San Diego State was the other one. So I think it was a 5, a 1, or a 2. I can't remember what UConn was seeded that year, but it was probably the most combined aggregate number of seed numbers in the Final Four. And it always delivers. It always delivers.
It always delivers. Lastly, before I get you out of here, anything else that you're passionate about right now? Any projects you're working on, or things that you just think are really exciting for you right now?
Nothing specific currently. There are a couple of things in the works specifically, but in general, this idea around being a connector of good people to good people and good causes to good people and good causes to good causes, being a conduit because of the platform that God has given me through sports, through broadcasting, through community, to be more intentional around doing that and seeing that come to fruition, where I have access to somebody and I can connect them to another person who's doing good work that might resonate. And so much of that happens with the work that I'm privileged to do as a member of the governing committee of the Columbus Foundation, and wrapping up a 2-year term as chair of the governing committee, and just seeing how the foundation as a community asset provides knowledge, but also resources to uplift and strengthen the community and to help donors improve the lives and strengthen the lives of those in our community through their philanthropy. I mean, to see that manifested and played out in so many different dimensions is a tremendous privilege for me. And that encompasses the idea of trying to be an agent of common good and common grace, and so nothing specific currently that I would share, but the general trajectory of being connected to people that are doing good work, and then being able to support them, whether it's with my time, talent, or treasures, or to connect folks to one another so they can be about the business of making a positive difference in other people's lives.
Well, it's been awesome to be connected to you, and I know the work that's happened at the Columbus Foundation. Doug will probably smack me. I'll get the stat wrong, but I know at one point they were the 10th largest community foundation in the country. Yeah. So the work that's being done is fantastic.
Yeah, just crossed over, hit a milestone, going north of $4 billion in assets as a community foundation, and continue to try to fill needs as they try to be nimble and strategic. And Doug's leadership and the staff he's comprised and the team, our donors. I mean, all of it works together in a very impactful way.
Wow, it's amazing, and they're lucky to have your spirit and your connection, and being that conduit for that kind of work is awesome.
Well, I'm lucky to be part of that team, Jason. I am fortunate to be part of that team. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, any questions you got for me, buddy, or are we have we hit our mark here?
You got another book on the docket? Is one kind of germinating under the surface?
I appreciate the question. I'm always marinating. So there's always something. And so I'm always writing myself notes, and I've got a concept right now that I is still in kind of marination mode, but I know there'll be something again at some point, but when the spirit moves, I'll know it's time to write. But right now I'm just kind of marinating. Yeah. And sometimes that's part of the process too, right? Sometimes you got to let the soil stay dormant for a while, till it a little bit, and then ultimately when it's time, God will help you navigate and move it towards fruition. It's awesome. Well, hey, Clark, I appreciate you being on. This has been awesome. We could talk hoops all day, but we'll spare our listeners for now. But thanks again, man, for joining the podcast.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure, man. Enjoyed the conversation, and maybe we can do it again, a little shorter version, and maybe zero in on just hoops as we get closer to March Madness. So you determine if that's something you want to do, and then we'll try to make time to do that.
I'll talk hoops anytime. We'll do that for sure. So thanks to Clark Kellogg for joining us today, and really appreciate his insights, the spirit that he brings to his work. And for all of you listening out there, again, I hope this breathes some good oxygen into you, got you thinking about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. And I hope, again, you'll remember to reach out to us with any questions, thoughts. You can track us down, jasonvbarger.com. And again, I'll just remember, we'll put some show notes, some things in the show notes if you want to learn more about what Clark's doing in the show notes to kind of follow up with that if that's of interest to you. And lastly, I'll just remind you to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.